Did you know that this man saved your life and you probably didn't even know his name? It all started in 1983 during the Cold War. A Soviet officer named Stanislav Petrov was on duty inside of a nuclear bunker. His job was simple: watch for incoming nuclear attacks from the US. Night after night, he would pretty much just stare at screens, waiting for nothing to happen. All until one night, when suddenly emergency alarms started blaring. Petrov quickly checked his computer and noticed there was a nuclear missile from the US coming straight towards Soviet territory. Then a few seconds later, 2, 3, 4, 5 missiles were now about to hit the Soviets. All Petrov had to do now was make a call to higher command, but this one decision could literally destroy the world. You see, if he called stating there was a nuclear attack, the Soviets would likely send missiles back at the US immediately in retaliation, which would not only cause destruction, but could be the start of World War III. The computer said the attack was real and a high confidence alert, but Petrov had a gut feeling something was off. He questioned why the US would only send 5 missiles during a nuclear attack, knowing it would be hundreds. And also remembered the computer system he was using was brand new. Despite the pressure and the fact that he could be at fault for disaster, Petrov did call, but claimed the attack was a false alarm, trusting his human judgment over the machine. Everyone inside the bunker sat in silence, knowing they could die at any moment if he was wrong. But as minutes passed, something strange was happening. The missiles weren't showing up on the radar, only on the computer. The missiles should have hit by now, but nothing was happening. Because what none of them knew is that sunlight had reflected off high-altitude clouds and tricked satellites into alerting. It was never a real attack, making Petrov's decision one that saved millions of lives. Leopard seals are far deadlier than what you thought, and are way more terrifying than what they seem. But why? First off, they're absolutely massive, over 12 feet long and weigh over 1,300 pounds, equivalent to 2 full-grown grizzly bears. Not only that, their teeth are extremely sharp, specifically made to bite through flesh. But how is this scary? Well, leopard seals are known for being extremely stealthy, doing things like floating near breathing holes or cracks, peeking through motionless. And when a penguin passes through, they'll explode upwards and pull you under. Or sometimes they'll even lurk in the darkness under iceberg edges for hours, quietly waiting without making bubbles until something finally drops in front of them. And if you were to try to outswim them, they can swim up to 23 miles per hour, easily catching up to you no matter how far you got. But it gets worse once they get you. They'll do things like thrashing penguins around in their jaws, skinning them alive with their teeth, making them easier to eat. Or even more brutal, they'll let you escape and swim away as a joke, and then bite you again over and over until you eventually die. Known for killing tens of thousands of animals in its lifetime, making it the second most deadly on the Antarctica food chain. The Black Death was far more disturbing than you thought, and was way closer to killing us than you realize. But how? It all began with a singular merchant ship coming from Asia arriving in Sicily, but something was off. As they docked, you would discover nearly all the sailors on board were either dead or covered in black boils the size of eggs. In a panic, the ship was ordered to leave, but it was already too late. Infected rats, fleas, and sailors left the ship just before, where the disease spread almost instantly within the town of Messina. You would be unknowingly spreading it to everyone around you, where entire neighborhoods and families were slowly starting to get sick. But it was about to get much worse, because only about 2 to 3 weeks later, you would suddenly start to see entire families dying within days of each other, and bodies piling up in the streets. Even doctors and priests treating families started dying as well, resulting in a mass wave of panic. People were covered in black boils, had high fevers, and were vomiting blood. And within a matter of only months, it spread all across southern Europe, causing entire towns to be killed off and abandoned. At one point, the plague even turned airborne, where you could get infected just by being next to someone. Now spreading even more rapidly, sweeping through major cities, and killing off nearly half the population everywhere it touched. But it gets darker. Over 2 years in, Europe was collapsing. Hundreds of thousands of people were dying no matter what city or town you moved to. People tried tons of different practices and cures, but nothing would save you. And in the third year, the plague was killing everything. Millions of people and even animals were dying. Being so deadly, you would die within only 2 to 7 days after infection. And about 4 years in, the populations got so low, it was running out of hosts, finally starting to slow down. But the damage was already done. Nearly 50 to 60% of people in Europe were gone, and millions of more across the world, with a death toll around 50 to 200 million victims. These are the horrifying things you would face if you got raided by Vikings. First off, you wouldn't even know they were coming. Viking attacks usually took place early in the morning or at night when most people were defenseless or asleep. But even if you were awake, you wouldn't hear or see them either. Vikings were expert boat builders and made longships that stayed almost completely silent when sailing, sat low in the water barely visible from shore, and made to dock directly on land quickly unlike normal ships. But this is only the beginning. Before your town can even react, they've already been prepared for hours, instantly jumping off their ship entirely armed and organized. After only a minute or two, all at once charging your town, weapons in the air screaming. Waking you up, their goal now wasn't just to steal everything, but create fear. During raids, they made themselves look inhuman, wearing intimidating clothing, sometimes animal skins, and would immediately start killing to cause chaos. This mix of panic and fear worked so well, most people wouldn't even try fighting back as they broke into your home, looting anything valuable. And if you did, Vikings had years of combat experience over you and were extremely violent. Some were even called berserkers, rumored to take some kind of drugs because they fought in a possessed-like state and ignored pain. So even if you complied, they would sometimes just kill you anyways. But more often, you'd be taken away from your home enslaved, held for ransom, or used in ways far worse. By now, your entire town would be ransacked, homes burned down so it couldn't recover, and survivors taken or left with nothing. And in just hours, they would leave with everything before any defense could get there in time to save you. These are 4 animals you didn't know were best friends. First, ravens and wolves work together to hunt, where ravens will fly around looking for prey, then flying back to the wolves, getting their attention and leading them to the animal they saw, waiting for the kill and sharing the meal. Next, hermit crabs and an enemy basically team up together to survive. Since an enemy can't move fast, the crab will pick it up and equip it on its shell. The anemone helps defend the crab with its stinging tentacles, while the crab gives it much faster transportation and also shares scraps of its food every time it eats. Next, coyotes and badgers hunt together. Since coyotes are better at covering ground and badgers are better underground, the coyote will chase the prey on land, and if it goes under, the badger will take over, leaving the prey with no options or ways to escape, sharing their meal. Finally, humans and wild dolphins in Brazil work together to catch fish. The dolphins will find a school of fish and herd them towards the fishermen. When the fish are close, the dolphin will slap the water with its tail, signaling the fishermen to cast the net, causing the fish to scatter and get disorientated, so it's easier for the dolphins to catch, rewarding both of them. Did you know that crows can hold a grudge against you for your entire life? Because if you ever try to hurt or attack a crow, they can actually remember your face, where if they ever see you again, they're able to instantly recognize you as a threat. But it doesn't stop there, as crows are extremely communicative, and will go as far as telling the rest of its flock to remember your face as well, also passing down their grudge against you to their babies. So even after the crow you taunted dies, other generations of crows will continue to have this grudge against you, where they're known to do things like loudly squawk at you non-stop, constantly shadowing over you just watching, or rarely they'll swoop down at you, making sure they never forget what you did.